What is good, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going over my official 2023 NCAA March Madness tournament predictions. Let's just waste no more time and let's get right into it. If you guys enjoy the video, leave it a like. Let me know down below who you got making your Final Four and your national championship and all that good stuff. Alabama is the first team up. We're going to start in the South region, and I think they're legit. We got Nate Oates, a really good coach this year for Alabama. He was really good at Buffalo in his time before. Brandon Miller's been a stud. And I think as long as Alabama can keep Brandon Miller out of trouble for the next month, half a month or so, I think they're going to be a really good, legit team. They get out in transition. They make shots, and they're really sound on the defensive end as well. Alabama is going to blow out Texas A&M here. I can't wait just to watch the tournament run that Alabama's going to go on, hopefully, and I think it's going to be really exciting, and I have a lot of faith in this team. Maryland and West Virginia, the 8-9 matchup. Again, I think this is going to be a very grind-out game. Both teams are going to be playing very gritty, diving for the loose balls, and I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. Both have very similar games. Maryland is going to show up on defense. However, West Virginia does have Eric Stevenson, who's a really good three-point shooter, and I think could potentially hurt this Maryland defense that they have. It's going to be a really close game, but I do think West Virginia is going to be able to pull ahead. I think they have a little bit more scoring on offense, and Eric Stevenson, I think, is going to make a little bit of a splash in this first round of 64. Next up, we have the 12th-seeded Charleston versus San Diego State. San Diego State is one of those teams to watch out for. I think they are a legit team in this tournament. They have a really scrappy defense. They have a lot of grit guys on this team, and then this team's hot. They have a lot of upperclassmen on the team that I think are going to just play a lot of minutes. They know how to play basketball the right way. However, Charleston is a team that you do not want to mess with in this tournament. They don't necessarily have that number one guy on their team. However, they have a lot of players that are able to just get out and bother you. They're pests. They're really, really well coached, and they just do all the little things. They're a team that can hit quick shots and force you to cough the ball up on the other end, and those points add up quick. And in this tournament, we're going to be seeing our first upset here, first official upset. I personally don't think 10-7 or even 9-8 is necessarily an upset as much as it is two good teams that are matched up fairly evenly. But I do think 12-seed Charleston is due for a nice upset here in the first round. Then we're going to move on now to another upset that I think is potentially waiting to happen, and I think Furman and Virginia are going to play a really fun game. I see a lot of people right now wanting to take Furman in this game. We know they have a lot of formulas to win this game. They're fundamental. They're fast-paced. They get out in transition. However, Virginia just plays basketball really, really poised, and I do have them winning this game, unfortunately. Virginia is one of the most boring teams in the nation to watch. They take 30 seconds every shot clock. They just get layups almost every possession. They shoot the ball really efficiently. While it's not pretty, or while it is pretty but it's not super fun, I do think that they are the better team, and I do think they are going to win this game. However, Furman can keep it close, and I think they will keep it close, but Virginia is definitely going to make this game a little bit low scoring and a little bit underappreciated and underanticipated. Creighton, NC State. I think this is another game that we're really looking forward to. Traquavion Smith for NC State is a guy that can win you a basketball game. However, Creighton is built for this tournament. They're designed for March Madness. Ryan I forget how I say his last name, but he's a two-time Defensive Player of the Year winner for Creighton in their conference. He's going to lock up down low, and I think if he could clog the paint and not allow Traquavion Smith to get down low, I don't see a way where Creighton loses this game. They have really good three-point shooters. They get to the free throw line a lot. They're really well coached, and they're, again, another team that's just built for this tournament. They have size. They have experience, and I think they're going to outmatch NC State a little bit in this game. So give me Creighton in this matchup. I just don't see a way where Jaquel Joyner and Traquavion Smith are able to really score enough points to push NC State over the limit and beat this team. However, I do think it is going to be another really close game. Baylor, this team is super underappreciated in my eyes. They check off every single list. They're scrappy on D. They play good offense. And they've been in this situation before. Keontae George is a very elite basketball player, and he's going to be a guy looking to give himself another big name. To a lot of teams, a lot of scouts, and a lot of people in the media that don't know who he is yet. You will learn the name Keontae George after this tournament run. I think Baylor is a team that's set to go on a nice little run in this tournament. They have everything there. And UC Santa Barbara, I just don't know if they have the tools to do it. A.J. Mitchell is a really good player. He's going to force a lot of shots. If he could get those shots to fall, I think he can maintain this game and keep it a little bit close. But I just don't think they're even going to push the needle necessarily against Baylor in this game. They haven't played a top 25 team all year, I believe. So I just don't think Baylor is going to drop this one, especially to UC Santa Barbara. Missouri and Utah State, this is another game where I think the 7 and 10 matchup could go either way. Missouri is one of those teams similar to Virginia where or Utah State, is a team similar to Virginia. They slow the game down. They shoot a lot of threes. They're very reliant on the three ball. And if it's not falling, I think it's going to be a really long day for Utah State. Missouri doesn't play a lot of defense necessarily. So if Utah State can capitalize on those open looks that they are going to get, I think they can win this ball game. However, it's going to be really tough for them to really just compete. And if Missouri can make their shots, it's make or break. I really do think that neither team necessarily plays a lot of defense. Whatever team's going to make a lot of their open threes or force the extra pass against the defense and just get open looks, knock those shots down, I think that's the team that's going to win this game. Either way, I don't think either team's going to make a run. I think they would end up losing to Arizona in the next round anyway. But in this sake, I am going to take we'll take Missouri in this one. However, it could go either way. I don't see this game being very entertaining. I think it could be a potential blow up with either one of these teams if the other one just doesn't make their shots. But let's go with Missouri in this game. And then we have the 2-seeded Arizona versus 15-seed Princeton. Princeton is another team that hasn't been to this tournament since 2017. They lost in the first round to Notre Dame, but Arizona looked really good in the Pac-12 championship game, and I think they're a team that's falling under a lot of people's radar. They have the experience. Tommy Lloyd, another great head coach in this tournament. Coaching matters so much in college basketball, and I think they're just a really strong team, both ends of the floor. Princeton could potentially keep this somewhat close. Princeton basketball is always known just to make that extra cut, that extra pass, and play basketball a very smart way. They don't force shots, and I think they could potentially keep it a little bit close, but Arizona is a really good team. Tubelis, a double-double machine for Arizona. I got them winning this game pretty easily. We'll stay in this. We'll go region by region and then break down the Elite Eight or Final Four at a time. So Alabama, I think, is going to run through West Virginia. Not a lot of defense there for West Virginia. They have scoring, but not enough against this Alabama team. Brandon Miller, once again, I think he's just going to be lighting up this entire tournament, and it's going to be really tough for him to be contained. Charleston and Virginia. Charleston, I'm not sure. Is this Charleston, Virginia? I'm not 100% positive, but I know Charleston is another team that a lot of people are looking out for in this tournament, and I think they're going to beat the slow, gritty team that is Virginia. They grind away possessions, but I think Charleston's a team that just gets out in transition. They play with a really, really fast pace. I think that's almost going to be a bit of a surprise to Virginia. They're not going to know what to do, and they're just going to get out early. And when you get out early in these tournaments and keep hitting your shots, the underdog's always going to have the crowd on their back. It's going to be tough for Virginia to come back in this one. And I don't see a world where Charleston just slows down. They're going to bring energy for 48 minutes straight. They are going to have a tough game against San Diego State, so you hope that they don't get gassed and winded out too much against this Virginia team. However, I do think that if they play Virginia or Foreman, they will be able to take them down. Virginia and Foreman will be a really nice 12-13 matchup. I think Charleston and Foreman will be a really good matchup. I do see Charleston beating the number 4 seed and advancing to the Sweet 16 to take on Alabama. Creighton and Baylor, two similar teams in my opinion. I think Creighton can go out and potentially win this game, but Baylor is they have way too much experience. They're way too poised, and I think they're well coached, and they're not going to lose to a team like Creighton. I think they're destined to go on a nice little run here, and I think beating Creighton is definitely something I could see happening. They're a 3-point line, and like I said, if they can hit those threes, they should have no issue against Creighton. Number 2 seed Arizona versus the 7 seed Missouri. I'm taking Arizona in this game. Very similar basketball to Creighton, and I think that's setting up for a really good Sweet 16 matchup between 3-seeded Baylor, 2-seeded Arizona. And I cannot wait for that game. I think that will be a really good game of basketball, and I'm looking forward to watching that potentially in the Sweet 16. Yeah, sure, yeah, we'll just get this out of the way right now. I think Alabama's going to run through Charleston. The run comes to an end, but Alabama's just too good. Charleston's not going to be expecting and they're not going to have enough energy. I don't think playing 2 straight games against teams that are really going to make it a little bit tough on them. Alabama's just going to run them out the water for a fairly easy trip to the Elite Eight, in my opinion. However, they are going to have to play either Baylor or Arizona, and I think I want to take Arizona in this game. They just looked so impressive to me all season, especially in the Pac-12 championship. They were one shot away from winning it at the buzzer. They couldn't get it done, but they're dangerous. They're very effective at scoring. They just get to whatever they want. They have a 3-level scoring offense. Their defense is almost a box and one at times, so I think that could potentially work when it comes down to shutting Keontae George down. And if they are able to do so, I do see them beating Baylor, advancing to the Elite Eight. But I do have Bama winning this game. I think Alabama has a little bit more there. Nate Oates, really good coach. I think he's going to be able to get it done against Arizona, who has the skill. They have the experience. They have it on both ends of the floor. That's a throw in the up. That game's going to be tough for Arizona and Alabama. I mean, Alabama, you can argue they have a pretty easy path to the Elite Eight, and it could almost hit them really hard that they just go from okay teams to playing Arizona, which could be a huge leap for them, and it will be a huge leap for them. But I think they'll be able to get it done. Alabama to the Final Four, and that concludes the South region of our bracket. So now we're in the Eastern region of the bracket, and in this game, I'm going to take Purdue, no matter who they're playing, FDU or Texas Southern. I think it's going to be fairly easy for Purdue to win this game. Zach Edey has been a monster all season. I don't really see a way where Purdue's able to lose a game to either one of these teams. I think they're going to blow them out the water, get a quick game on either Thursday or Friday out the way, and move on to the next round. Purdue, I do think it's going to be a little bit tough for them to find scoring outside of Edey if he does get into foul trouble, which does worry me a little bit. But this team forces tough shots on you. They have a really good lockdown defense. It's going to be really tough to score against this team, especially if their outside shots not falling. They try to get inside. Zach Edey's just a force, and they bring guys around him to just collapse the paint. It's going to be really tough to match up against Purdue this season. Next up, Memphis against FAU. These are 2 teams that I'm still on the fence about. I really don't know who I want to take because I do think Florida Atlantic, I mean, they had 30-plus wins on the season. 31 wins is tough to get no matter what conference you're in, and a lot of them have been very impressive wins. They are a team that loves going downhill. They love getting to the paint. They love pushing the ball on fast break. They cough up a lot of turnovers, which does worry me a little bit, but I do think Florida Atlantic is the better team. However, Memphis is super impressive. After winning the American Conference, they beat Houston in that tournament. Obviously, Houston did not have Marcus Sasser, but you still beat Jarace Walker and a really good Houston team who only had 2 losses on the season at that time. Memphis is legit. Penny Hardaway is a really good coach for them, and it's going to be tough for them to lose this game. Kendrick Davis, DeAndre Williams, they're going to bring hell to FAU. I think this is a really fun game we got to watch, and I think this entire tournament just has so many games like this where it's just 2 teams battling all 48 minutes long, and it's going to really just come down to the last shot, and I can't wait for this tournament. But I do have Memphis winning this game. Duke and Oral Roberts, another really good first-round matchup that I really do like Oral Roberts in. However, unfortunately, I think they're just matched up against a really good Duke team who, in my opinion, is seated a little bit high. I think they could have beat out Kansas State and Tennessee and gotten that 3 seed. But I do think this benefits them a little bit. Oral Roberts is not an easy first-round matchup. We remember back in 2021, Max Asmus and this Oral Roberts team went on a really nice run, and this team got better. They added scoring. They added help on the defensive side. They added a 7'3" player who just blocks shots like crazy. Max Asmus is going to be a problem for this Duke team. However, with Jeremy Roach back, you have Derek Lively. You got a ton of guys, Kyle Flipowski. Duke is a legit team, and when Duke is hot, they stay hot, and they are on a really good streak right now, and I think they're going to stay hot and continue this run, beating Oral Roberts in the first round. Moving on, Tennessee and Louisiana. A lot of people are taking Louisiana just because of Ziegler's injury. However, I do think they are an okay team still surrounding that. Tennessee doesn't move the needle for me at all necessarily. I would personally give them like a 6 or 7 seed in this tournament. They haven't impressed me that much this season. However, I do think they are going to be able to beat Louisiana. Inconsistent offense. They struggle on defense. They don't force a lot of turnovers, and they're not good from the free throw line. So I do think Tennessee is going to be able to beat them in this matchup, but I do think Duke is going to bring them hell in the following round. Kentucky Providence. This is another one of those rematch games. Bryce Hopkins, his revenge game against Kentucky. I cannot wait for that, but I do think Oscar Sheba is going to bring hell to this Providence defense, who is not very good this season. They've struggled to guard big men all season long, and Oscar Sheba is not a guy you want to go up against in the first round. Antonio Reeves has a green light for this Kentucky team. He's going to shoot the ball whenever he can, and I think Kentucky is another one of the teams similar to Duke where they have been a bit underrated all season, and I do think they could potentially beat out a Tennessee for that 4 seed. And a Duke against Kentucky second round matchup would be super, super fun. But they have to go through Providence first. Like I said, Bryce Hopkins is going to be good. Noah Locke has had a bounce-back season. So I think Providence is going to make it a bit tough for Kentucky, but I do have the Wildcats coming out on top in this one. Kansas State has been good all season. They're another similar team to where they just play basketball really good on both sides of the floor. A little bit similar to like a Marquette where they know how to play basketball. They don't turn the ball over. They get to the free throw line. They'll block your shots. They'll get you your steals. They'll take charges. They'll do the little things to help you win a basketball game. And to me, Montana State doesn't have a lot there. Give me Kansas State in this one. Michigan State and USC. I'm taking Michigan State in this one. When you have a coach like Tom Izzo, March Madness is made for you, regardless if you have a star player or not. They have good players on that team. Tyson Walker, a very elite scorer on that team. USC, to me, just doesn't have enough pieces to compete with Michigan State in this tournament. Again, like I said, the facts are there. Tom Izzo is a great coach. When it comes to March Madness, you don't ever want to go up against Michigan State. Give me them in that round. And then Marquette, they've been really good all season. And to me, I think they're a bit underrated, again, as a 2 seed. They fly under a lot of people's radar. Shaka Smart is due for a good playoff run in this tournament, I think. They've just dominated on both sides of the floor all season. They get out in transition. They're a team that's going to really, really impress a lot of people in this tournament, I believe. And they knock down their shots. They love the mid-range shot, which is something not a lot of college basketball teams do. But Shaka Smart likes running that offense and getting shots in the mid-range and in the paint. So I have them running through Vermont pretty easily, as well as Michigan State. I think while Michigan State is well coached, they're not going to be able to slow down Marquette. Kentucky, I do think, is going to beat Kansas State in this one. Again, Oscar Sheba, he's very dominant, but Kansas State has a good defense. I don't think they're going to be able to slow Oscar Sheba down in that one. Duke against Tennessee with Ziegler out. We don't know his injury status, and Tennessee, to me, just doesn't impress me. Kyle Flabowski should have a really good one in that one. Double-double machine. Derek Lively, who's been stepping up good. Jeremy Roach. I think it's going to be hell for Tennessee. Purdue and Memphis, though. This is one of those times where you just have those feelings. Every year, the huge upset always happens. Not every 1 seed ever makes a tournament, and a lot of the tournament is just about having fun. And hell, I could be completely wrong. This is one of my hottest takes. I think Memphis is going to beat Purdue in the round of 32. I think Penny Hardaway and his team just love to play that sort of street ball-esque basketball, and I think it's going to be too much for Purdue. They're going to be going at Zach Edey all day. If they could get him into foul trouble without him, I think they're really going to struggle. Give me Memphis in this game, upsetting the number 1 seed Purdue and heading on to the Sweet 16 to set up a great game between Duke and Memphis, if we're being honest. Then Kentucky Marquette's another thriller. I do think that Duke is the better team against Memphis, but that's going to be a hell of a game. We could see that game ending in the 50s. It's going to be a dogfight. You're going to have guys diving after loose balls. I do think Kyle Flabowski is the best player on the court there, and I think he's going to show his dominance. He's going to show his reign, especially down low. And if they can stretch outside with Jeremy Roach hitting those big threes, it's going to be tough for Memphis to be able to guard anything there. And then Marquette and Kentucky. Marquette is the better team. Kentucky had a nice little run, but Marquette is going to be meeting Duke in the Elite Eight. and they're a really good team. And it's going to be tough for them to beat Kentucky. Oscar Tshiebwe, I think he will get a little bit out game planned by Shaka Smart. They have the pieces to slow him down, and I think Marquette is going to be able to do so. And then we're setting up Duke and Marquette in the Elite Eight. And this is the time where I think coaching comes into play. If Coach K was still on this Duke team, the current Duke team, I would be taking Duke by 20. However, Coach K is not there anymore. Instead, we're going up against Shaka Smart, who is known to have a really good defense. I love the dominance they bring on both ends of the floor, but I think Duke here. I think Duke has it. Derek Lively, Kyle Filipowski, some of the best freshmen in the country. Jeremy Roach has been there. Kyle Vanover is on Oral Roberts. Definitely not Duke. I just think Duke has it in them. I feel like a lot of people are going to be taking them just for the name Duke, and they have the experience. But I genuinely think that this team could be as high as a 3 seed potentially in this tournament. But I have Duke going to the Final Four, and they are going to end up facing Alabama in Houston on April 1st in the Final Four matchup. So yeah, that is my East region. All right, so moving on to the Midwest region, we see Northern Kentucky that is playing against Houston. I think Houston's going to run through this team. I don't see a way where Jarace Walker, Marcus Sasser is injured. But they have a really impressive team here. They play scrappy. Teams locked down on defense. They get out in transition. This team's very scary, and I think they are a true number 1 seed. They have been dominant all season in the entire NCAA, and I don't think Northern Kentucky's going to be able to slow them down, nor do I think either Iowa or Auburn is. Northern Kentucky does play the really nice zone matchup, which I do like. I just don't think they're able to upset the number 1 seed Kentucky. I do wish they had a bit of a higher seed to where they maybe played against like a 4 seed or a 3 seed, because I do think this team is built for an upset. However, number 1 overall Houston just does not go down this early. I think they are a really dominant team for a reason. However, that Marcus Sasser injury could come back to hurt them in the long run. Iowa and Auburn. Auburn's been very solid, respectable on offense. They don't necessarily have the star player, but Bruce Pearl, he just has not been impressive to me this season. He has not been a good coach. And I do think Iowa, with Chris Murray following in Keegan Murray's steps, has been very good. And I think Chris Murray is going to lead this team to victory. They play very fast. And I think they're just going to give Auburn a little bit too much. Drake and Miami, this is another 5-12 matchup that a lot of people are picking Drake for. However, Miami is just very fundamental. Isaiah Wong, another really good player. They love cutting. They love their screens. They love doing backdoor passes, and they just score at will. Isaiah Wong's a guy to watch out for in this tournament. I think he's going to raise a lot of draft stock. Nochart Omier, another great player. I think he's a little bit underrated. He is questionable in this game, so I think that is something to watch out for. But if he does play, I without a doubt do think Miami's going to handle business. DeVries has been good for Drake, but again, I think Miami's going to take this one. Their offenses are going to be a little bit too much for Drake. I'm not sure they're going to be able to slow down this Miami team. Indiana, Kent State. Indiana has been really good all year. They're another team that's flying under a lot of people's radar. TJD has been really good for them. Terrence Jackson Davis, Jalen Hood-Scafino, another great player for this Indiana team. This is my first round upset. I have Kent State winning. Do not sleep on them. Sincere Carey is going to be a player watch out for. Sincere Carey, he's been really good, and he impresses me a ton. He could score at will. He's a big body guy. He could just get down low. He finishes well at the rim. Kent State, watch out for them. They are a sleeper team, and I think this team is going to break a lot of brackets, because I see people bringing Indiana to the Elite Eight. I see them bringing them really far, and I think Kent State's going to get rid of them in round 1. They force teams to cough up a lot of turnovers. They get out in transition and make teams pay, and I think they're going to make Indiana struggle in that first round. Pittsburgh, very close game they played in last night, which they ended up winning, but Iowa State, to me, is a team that I think matches up really well with a lot of teams. Osan cubed. has been very good for them this season. Pittsburgh, however, I think coming off a very close game last night, which they looked solid in. They almost choked that game, but I do think Iowa State is the better team. Either team will match up well against Iowa, but I do think Hinson and Burton just aren't going to be able to have enough to stop down this Iowa State team who matches up really good. They struggle to hit their threes sometimes, so I think that comes into play at the end of the day. If Iowa State can hit their threes, they'll be fine. If they struggle to hit their threes, I worry a little bit about this team. Pittsburgh is a team that is able to upset Iowa in this first round, but I do have Iowa State winning this game. Xavier is going to run through Kennesaw State. They're not going to be able to keep up with a great scoring team like Xavier, who does remind me very similar to Marquette. I think both these teams play basketball really well on both sides of the floor. Good defense there. Sean Miller, another great coach. They have experience. They pass the ball well. The shot creation's there. I think Xavier's due for a blowout win in the first round. Next up, we see a phenomenal game here between Penn State and Texas A&M. A&M and Penn State, in my opinion, are a little bit screwed over with this matchup because I think both team is due for a potential run in this tournament. I think both these teams could have done something very impressive. Unfortunately, they have to go against each other and against Texas in the next round, who's going to dominate Cole. Let's just get that out of the way. And unfortunately, I do think Texas is going to run through either one of these teams. However, it will be close. Let's get into this matchup, though. A&M ran through Henry Coleman III. Their offense is really, really elite. They're a team that can just pick you apart. They love getting to the rim. They live or die by the three ball. Very sneaky team to watch out for. And I do think if they win this game against Penn State, they're going to make it super, super tough on Texas, who's one of the best teams in the nation right now. But Penn State's also very dangerous. Jalen Pickett has been good all season. Penn State's on fire right now. They couldn't get it done in the tournament, but if they are able to hit this three ball, they're going to be super dominant. Watch out for them. This game is up in the air. I do think Texas A&M is going to win it, however, but it's going to be so close, and we see a battle of Texas A&M and Texas in the second round. That's just amazing. To me, that's like a 3-2 matchup in the second round. They got the 7th seed, which I do not think they should have. I could see them maybe getting, I don't know. I mean, this entire region is very good. They could have potentially I think they could have gotten maybe the 4 or 5 seed over Miami or Indiana. But regardless, I think it's going to be a really good matchup here against Penn State. And then Texas, for me, is a team that's been super fun to watch all season. They score on all 3 levels. They get out in transition. They force turnovers. And it's going to be tough for any team that has to go up against them. I see people taking Colgate as like the sleeper team again. I don't think they're built for it, especially against a team like Texas. Marcus Carr's been really good, being a lead passer for them. And if this team is able to just score a bunch of points, it's going to be tough for anybody to come back against them. And I think it's going to be tough for Texas A&M here. Xavier and Iowa State, another really good game, but I have Iowa State winning this. I think they just score the ball too much compared to Xavier. Xavier likes to play the game a little bit slower. They're not going to be able to keep up, I don't think, with the pace that Iowa State likes to play at. And I have Iowa State moving on to the Sweet 16 take on Texas. However, Texas is going to be too much for them. I have Miami beating Kent State. I have Iowa getting ran to the ground by Houston. Houston's been very good, and that sets up a very, very exciting Houston versus Texas Battle of Texas Sweet 16 matchup. Jarace Walker is going to be really, really fun to watch play up against Marcus Sarr. 2 guys that will be in the NBA one day. But I do have Texas winning this game. I think the loss of Marcus Sasser is going to hurt them, and this is going to be the time where it bites them in the butt. I think they'll be able to beat these 3 teams without him, but if they don't have Sasser, which they don't right now, it's going to be tough for them to beat Texas. Texas just loves playing with their momentum. They're going to have the crowd on their side, and it's going to be really, really tough for them to be able to beat Houston, but I think they're going to be able to do it. Slow down Jarace Walker with their great defense. And I think they're better coached, and I think they have a trip to the Final Four. So that is my Midwest region, and let's move on to the final region, which is the West. All right, so in the West, we see Howard playing Kansas in the first round. Kansas, they're dominant. Grady Dick, Jalen Wilson are 2 phenomenal basketball players. Winning back-to-back championships is tough, however, especially in this tournament. So I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. They have a chip on their shoulder going into this tournament, but I think they are a better team now. It's going to be tough to do. They have talented defense, solid offense, and I think it's going to be a really, really good run for them. It's going to be a little bit tough, but I don't think they should struggle at all against Howard, who somehow pulled out that conference championship game. 2 clutch free throws at the end of the game, but I don't think they have it in them to end up beating Kansas here in the first round. Arkansas and Illinois, gritty team. Jordan Walsh, one of those guys. He's the guy that has he doesn't have any hair, but he brings it. He's a hell of a basketball player, and he's the type of guy that will win you championships, or he's the type of guy that you want on a championship caliber team. Not saying Arkansas is anything there, but Anthony Black, Nick Smith, those are guys that are going to bring it, and I think they're going to bring it against Illinois. Their spread offense, Terrence Shannon, is another good player, but they're not moving the needle for me. I think Arkansas is going to win this one in a bit of a blowout. However, they're not going to be able to keep up with Kansas in this game. I think it's going to be a fairly close game. I think they're going to bring the defense, but Kansas' offense is a little bit too overpowering for me, and I don't love Arkansas' offense this year. They do tend to struggle, especially in big-time games, so that worries me a little bit, but I don't think Kansas is necessarily going to struggle too much, and they should be able to have a somewhat easy path to the Sweet 16. St. Mary's, VCU, this is going to be a hell of a game. VCU really showed up in conference tournament play. They're a team that's just built for the tournament. They're another one of those teams. They're scrappy. They have size. They get out in transition. Very similar to a Texas A&M here, but where they could just get out and go. And that's going to be way too much for St. Mary's to handle. I think that St. Mary's shoots so many three-pointers, and if they can't hit those shots, it's going to be really tough for them to stay in this game. They don't have a lot of defense, and they worry me a little bit on that defensive side of the ball. Logan Johnson, he's a sniper, but I just don't think they have enough pieces and tools to really be able to keep up with the VCU. So I think this is one of the easier 12-5 matchups to predict. Moving on, we see UConn and Iona, a game that I think is going to determine everything in this tournament. UConn's a team that could go on and potentially win this tournament. When they're hot, they're one of the best, if not the best team in the entire nation. Jordan Hawkins, Senego, they just get downhill, and they're so good. They score at all 3 levels. However, Iona's not a team to mess with. Rick Pitino is going to put on a coaching masterclass. He's going to make it very difficult for this UConn team to execute their offense, and I cannot wait for this game. I do think if Iona wins this game, it's going to be a really, really tough time for UConn fans to get over it, because I think when they're hot, they're super, super good. However, when they're terrible and they're ice cold, they are ice cold. We've seen them go from 5 to 35, back to 12, back to so they're all over the place. They're on fire right now. If they can stay on fire, I think they're due for a good run. And I am going to take UConn in this game, and I am going to take them to beat VCU. I think Kansas-UConn's a hell of a game. I mean, if both of those teams show up, that's going to be one of the games to watch. Everyone must tune into that game, but I do have UConn winning that game. Rick Pitino, he's going to make it tough. Rick Pitino is going to make it super, super fun. I want to take Iona, but I can't. I don't know. By the time you're seeing this video, I might have already changed that, because that's a game that's just up in the air, and I think either one of those ball teams can win that game. And then Kansas-UConn, that's a hell of a matchup right there. Moving on, though, TCU, I think they win this game against either Arizona State or Nevada. I don't necessarily like TCU. Nothing about this team really impresses me. Check O'Bannon, he's going to block your shots for you for TCU, but besides that, I don't necessarily think they have anything too impressive. Coaching does matter a lot in these tournaments. I think they are really well coached, but I don't see a scenario where they are able to beat either of those, or they're able to lose to either of those teams. Gonzaga is going to blow through Grand Canyon, who does have a fairly decent team. Grand Canyon is one of those teams that I do think could go on a nice little run if they played someone else, but Gonzaga and Drew Timme is going to be a little bit too much for them to handle. Same could be said against TCU. Gonzaga, I think this benefits them really well. They don't have a Chet Holmgren on their team this year, and they don't have a chip on their shoulder. They're not the 1 seed that everyone's watching for, and they can kind of fly under the radar here and beat a lot of these teams pretty easily. and get to the Sweet 16, get to the Elite 8 without much difficulty. I mean, we look at the bottom half of this bracket. None of these teams really scare me, especially if I'm Gonzaga. And I think this will be really good for them. Julian Strefford, the pick and roll offense for me is just going to dominate a lot of these teams. Northwestern, Boise State. Give me Boise State. Their defense is just too good, and it's going to be tough for them, for anyone on Northwestern to really score. Their defense is going to really struggle and make it hard. UCLA and UNC Asheville. UCLA, Tiger Campbell, Jaime Jaquez, they've been really good. Amari Bailey. But UNC Asheville plays a 5-out, and it's going to be really tough. Drew Pimmer, he's a stud. UNC Asheville is going to make this super close. And as much as I want to take Asheville, I think they're going to keep it super close. Watch out for the upset. UNC Asheville might beat UCLA in the first round. We might see it. This might be your St. Peter's right here in UNC Asheville. They could be a team to go on and beat UCLA, then beat them, but lose Gonzaga. It could very well happen. However, I do think UCLA is the better team, and I do have them playing good basketball, and I think they are going to be well coached. They do the little things for you. They are going to be UNC Asheville. They are going to be Boise State. However, I do have Gonzaga and Drew Timme beating them in the Sweet 16 to move on to the Elite 8 to play the winner of Kansas or UConn. I do think whoever wins between Kansas or UConn is going to go to my Final Four. I'm still debating who I want, but I do think Kansas is the better I don't know. I kind of do like UConn, though, because if UConn can stay hot, that team is really good. Give me UConn to go to the Final Four. Something about this team, dude. When they're hot, they play some really good basketball. And this brings us to our Final Four. So let me move my camera right now. Alabama and Duke against Texas and UConn. The winners will play in Houston for the national championship. And I got Alabama winning this game. Brandon Miller, Nate Oates, great coach. Alabama's going to get it done. And I think they're going to be ready to play. Brandon Miller was one of my favorite players going to this. As long as he doesn't get put on trial in the middle of the tournament, I do think Alabama's going to be really good. Let's hope they don't do anything like that, because that'll be very unfortunate. And then we see Texas and UConn. This is a great game here, but I think I want to take Texas. And then in the national championship game, give me Alabama to win that one. Let's say 74-70. But I just think this team is really, really good. They get it done on both sides of the floor. Alabama's my team to win it all. Their defense is really impressive to me. Their offense ran through Brandon Miller. They got so many other guys on that team that contribute to winning basketball. Listening to Pee Wee the Plug the other day, telling everyone, he was like, if I'm a coach, if I'm a recruiter, I want my player to play at Alabama under Nate Oates. They just have a great program there, and I think they are going to be winning the national championship again this year. Not again this year, but I think they are going to be winning it this year. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave it a like down below. Let me know what you thought. I mean, I have a lot of upsets. I have a lot of shockers, I guess you could say. I think I did a pretty good job in this bracket. If you guys agree with me, let me know down in the comments. Let me know who's in your Final Four. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.